Yes?
It's the internet. I need to talk to you now.
You can come in.
You made a mistake on your Mega Ranger review.
What type of mistake?
You said his name was Koichiro Endi when it's actually Endo. You even spelled it wrong.
Oh yeah, I was going to actually mention that in my next news report.
Oh, what you reviewing now?
I'm reviewing Go-Go 5.
Ooh, I love that one. That's the one with the fire engines and everything?
No, not Go-Go 5. That's the series with the Rescue Rangers. This is Gogoro 5. From 1982, the year I was born.
Oh.
Soda's first series?
I don't know that one. Huh. Well, I accept your apology. I've got a bridge to get back under, so I'll talk to you later, but don't you make another mistake in this review.
You have yourself a nice day too. I swear, the internet. You make one simple little mistake in a video and suddenly they're all over you like a sex tape. Let's just get to the review. I've kind of ruined my intro now. I was going to do something else, something cool, but now I'm not in the mood, so I'll just save it for later. Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. Welcome! I am the Kaiju no Kami, and today I'm going to be reviewing Dai Sentai Go-Go 5. Before I begin to talk about Go-Go 5, I need to talk about a man named Hirahisa Soda. Soda began his career as a writer for the 1972 anime series Gatchaman. From here, he was hired on to write several episodes of Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger and would continue to be a scriptwriter for the next several series. As such, Toei decided to make him the showrunner for the franchise beginning with 1982's Dai Sentai Go-Go 5, where he would continue to be such through 1990's Chikyu Sentai 5-Man. From what has been reported, Soda wrote a total of 399 episodes to the Super Sentai franchise before leaving it for good with an episode of Car Ranger. He began working for Flagship Studios, a Capcom division that was co-founded by Dai Ranger's Noboru Sugimura until it was shut down by Capcom in the late 2000s. As you can see, Soda has had an extensive career throughout his life. However, how was his first attempt at running a Sentai show? Was it worth it? Was it good? To start, Go-Go 5 has been said that it was originally going to be called Go-Go 5, so what the 90s Rescue series did end up being called, before it was then changed to Mirai Sentai Mirai Man. So Future Sentai Futureman? That does not make any sense. They decided to go back to calling it Go-Go 5, but stuck with the romanization of Gogoro 5. Secondly, if you watch the series in chronological order, you may notice that this is the first series to feature a Black Ranger. No, not that type of Black Ranger, the color black. The racist stuff is going to come later in the review. The series prior to Go-Go 5 usually featured a Green Ranger, provided they went beyond the primary colors. Another aspect of Soda's work on Sentai is that he often utilized plots revolving around science, and this series was centered around that. The heroes work for an organization called the Future Science Foundation, whose goal was to use science to improve society. With that said, let's take a look at our heroes. The heroes. The heroes of our show were chosen to be Rangers through science. And that's pretty much it. I thought the cast of Bioman was pretty bad, but some of these guys managed to take the cake. We have a mountain climber named Konichi Akama, a strategist named Kanpei Kuroda, the hockey player inventor Saburo Ayama, zoologist Futoshi Kijima, and Miki Momozono, a gymnast. To Together they form the core team of Gogoro 5. They are played by Ryoji Akagi, Junichi Hirata, Shingeki Ishii, Sanpei Godai, and Megumi Ogawa. I've talked about Hirata in my previous reviews such as Kamen Rider Blade, but it's also worth mentioning that Sanpei Godai appeared as random characters in both Ultra 7 and Kamen Rider V3. The strongest member and my favorite is Kuroda, as he had the most diverse personality of the group. It also helps that he managed to have the most number of episodes compared to the other Rangers, which often were some of the best of the series. There is one episode where we meet a fellow colleague of his who has managed to crossbreed potatoes and tomatoes. I guess we just have to be thankful he didn't try to create a tomaco.
Tastes like cigarette butts.
We also get to see him often fight the villains despite not being able to transform, because he's Kuroda, the most badass hero in the show. Except for the fact that he can't punch a boulder off of a cliff by himself. Wimp. Akuma also has some great moments to shine, such as one where he has to rescue an old acquaintance of his. To a time where he has to deliver blood to a sickly child across cities on foot due to the villains disrupting electronic devices. Sadly, the remaining 3 Rangers are as one-dimensional as the paper I am reading from. Kijima did have an episode where he met his father, who abandoned him and his mother when he was a child to search for gold, and that was about it. This aspect of his character is never mentioned again, which is a shame because the storytelling behind the scenario could have been pure gold. Hey look, he's eating! Oh. Aoyama is there. He gets 2 episodes out of the entire 50 to his name, and one he shares with Kijima. It's pretty pathetic. He seemed like a nice guy, but that is all I can say on him.
I was a grade A moron to ever question eating meat.
Yes, you were, Jimmy. Yes, you were.
There's not much to add, even for Mickey. She has about as much depth in her character as a book she gets trapped in. I guess fans were quite upset about the previous series not having a female ranger, but when the females are as useless as Mickey, why should it matter? The most notable moment for her character was when she pretended to be a toy come to life. Yeah, so let's just put it as she managed to pull off playing a living inanimate object to such great perfection. I do like the team's suits, especially the scars and the helmets are badass. Each helmet contains a jewel that is supposed to represent an ancient culture, although nothing ever comes out of this beyond the initial mention of it. There was a lot of potential with the concept behind Gogo Red having a ruby representing Atlantis and Gogo Blue's sapphire symbolizing Egypt that held no meaning whatsoever in the show's story. What we did get were some of the most ridiculous weapons of all time. I mean, we have what looks to be bowling pins, dodgeballs, ribbons, and most threatening of all, a hula hoop. Oh man, a hula hoop? I'm scared now. After all, There's nothing more threatening than a hula hoop.
Wanna die? Now break apart. You're so
I'll shut up now. Their final attack is also pretty lame, as all they do is stand on top of each other and fire off a V. Yep, that's right, a V.
You may call me V.
Zoom up!
As if that wasn't disappointing enough, the team has the worst mentor figure ever. Their mentor is a scientist named Dr. Hideki Hongo, who is only there for the first 2 episodes and final 2 episodes. Yep, that is it. That's not to say as he leaves the team on their own, as he did form a child slave labor group to aid the Rangers in their quest against evil. These kids, known as the Calm Boys and Calm Girl, are there to assist the Rangers in any way, shape, or form they can. This often ends up just being that one of the kids happens to be friends with the Child of the Week that ends up in trouble. It's pretty tiresome, really. Oh, and there are 2 slave drivers that watch over the Calm Boys. They are so pointless that one of them leaves halfway through the show and nothing changes. By the villains. They are known as the Dark Science Empire Death Dark. And what's really funny is that the show starts out with them hiding in Germany, and this is what I instantly thought of.
German science is the finest in the world!
Their ruler is a giant eyeball thing that stands behind a wall or something known as Führer Taboo.
Red, dry, itchy, gritty, irritated, burning eyes. Can't be healthy.
Clear eyes complete makes relief simple.
That is all he does outside of occasionally bark orders. Man, and I thought Bozo from Changeman was lame. This guy's even worse. From there we have our main general, Death Geeler. Death Geeler is like the Japanese equivalent of Gerard Butler, as he only seems to talk out of one side of his mouth.
Plenty of both done there. This is Sparta!
Big action-packed, noisy movie. So my brother sitting in front of me.
I do like his design, and he is easily the most interesting of the villains, as he is really the only one that does stuff. It also helps that he gets to partake in some pretty cool fights. Other than that, he has as much development as a Cloud. The same goes for Mazurka, the token female villain. She has very little offer outside of thick thighs for those that favor fan service. From there we have the most useless duo, a pair of scientists whose most notable trait is bickering with each other. They are Dr. Iguana and Dr. Zazoria. They are going around the quarter mark of the series, rendering them as useless as Dr. Hongo. Speaking of the quarter mark, it is around this time that General Desmark is introduced, who is advertised to be the most powerful member of the organization. So how does he show off this great power? By sitting around giving orders until the last episode of the show. That's right, he does absolutely nothing the entire series, causing me to wonder why they even bothered to introduce him in the first place. Oh, and if you watched my Kamen Rider Black review, you may remember how I mentioned Shadow Moon brought in 2 completely useless female guards named Kara and Mara. Well, guess what Desmark brought with him?
Bella. Beres.
his own pair of useless girls named Beth and Belle. Of course, they at least occasionally do something other than standing around or dancing. It's honestly not much better. None of these villains are the least bit interesting, and they are just there because the heroes need someone to fight. At this point, they might as well just be fighting air, as it would be a whole of a hell lot more engaging. Surely with lackluster villains, the monsters of the week have to be kind of cool, right? Well, yeah. Sort of. Kind of. It depends. The monsters, known as synthetic beast Mozu, are a combination of organic creatures mixed with technology. The concept is stimulating, even if the designs are not always up to par.
あらゆる生命体の特殊遺伝子が秘蔵してある。さらに金属原子と結合して合成怪獣モズーとなる。モリモズ。
There are a couple of really awful looking monsters such as Cat Mozu, Starro, Starfish Hitler, you are not, Kappa Mozu, and a flying squirrel. On the other hand, my favorite is Cactus Mozu. You ain't seen nothing yet. Followed by Tengu Mozu. And Porcupine Mozu. Oh, and we actually have a watermelon one. Think about that. A watermelon monster.
Yeah. スイカに変身
The Mozus actually don't grow like the normal monsters of the week. Instead, a giant mech version will be launched that the Mozu will pilot after being resurrected by it. The first few Kongs, as they are called, have a unique look to them, but afterwards they just become a strange set of legs with the monster's upper half on them. Nothing really special to see here at all. Speaking of nothing special, the foot soldiers are called Madaraman. They are pretty much worthless as your typical grunts, but they do have one cool aspect that sets them apart from others. There are times when they will take up some sort of theme surrounding the Mozu they are working with.
Bad to the bone. Bad to the bone. Bad.
It does lead to some pretty cool concepts. And then we have a moment like this. The mecha. The mecha is one of my least favorite parts of the show. It isn't bad enough that Gogol, Black, and Pink sit out of the mech battles on the sidelines as they ride in the carrier mech Gogol Caesar, but the vehicle choices to form Gogol Robo are pretty bad. We have the generic plane and tank, but they also have a dump truck. Or as the side of the carton it comes out of says, dump. Why a dump truck? I do not know.
That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard, you imbecile.
Either way, if you watch one mech battle, you have seen them all as they all rinse and repeat themselves more so than in any other show. Worst of all, I have never seen a Sentai show reuse the same battle scenes as many times as this show has. This show relies on way too much stock footage, but I'll get more into that later. The effects and music. Given the time period, the effects are pretty good. The music, on the other hand, depends on your taste. It's not that Michiaki Watanabe's score is bad, yet it is the same music you can hear in any 70s Toku show. As such, there are only a handful of tracks I found to be memorable. It's bouncy. The opening theme is sung by a group of artists known as Mojo, The Chirps, and Kurogi73, and their lyrics are fine. I just don't find the opening to be as enjoyable as later themes. I do still hear it in my head despite being done with the show for a few days now. On the other hand, the ending theme, Stop the Battle, puts me to sleep. Still, the show hadn't yet hit the 80s in terms of sound and look, so it works for what it was. Oh, and there's also a pretty cool track that makes me think of the Goron music from Zelda. Back to the effects, the explosions are cool, and I do like the slow down speed ups that the show does. Outside of the fact that you get to see this scene a lot during its run. Sadly, there isn't anything special to say about the camera work for more than the first half of the show. Then there started to be some really cool shots towards the end of the show, especially with a scene like this. Alternatively, we do end up with some bad effects, as in this moment. Or just a cheaply made fight like we got here in one of the final episodes.
This sucks. Change it.
The episodes. This is the aspect where the show really frustrates me. There's not really that many truly terrible episodes. At the same time, there's not really that many truly outstanding ones either. The biggest issue is that this show has far too much stock footage used. Now, I know what you are thinking. Well, Toku has always used stock footage, so why are you complaining about this now? Well, that is true. At least 30% of each episode is compiled of it. I'm not just talking about reused attack footage or transforming mech footage, but even actual fights with the foot soldiers tend to be reused footage. It gets pretty ridiculous, and some fights are dragged out unnecessarily long because of it. In fact, sometimes there is so much stock footage that the Rangers barely even fight the Mozu. I also don't know how many times I really need to see Gogol Caesar rise out of a year-long baseball game. With that said, my favorite episode ended up being one of the most racist episodes of Sentai I've ever seen, titled The Flower of Death. Poison Cactus. Death Dark uses Cactus Mozu to sprout cactuses across Japan that will release a deadly toxin. The most Japanese Mexican girl possible is summoned to Japan to help stop Death Dark's evil plot before it is too late, and what we get are some truly hilarious battle scenes that scream racism. Not really, but I do hope you get what I mean.
Oh, senorita, odorimashou.
There are a couple of good episodes that have a similar tone, like the one with Porcupine Mozu portraying an American cowboy as he tries to assassinate Akama. Finally, one that revolves around a haunted house. As for my least favorite episode, that is one titled Blue Great Charge. It is one of the few episodes that follows Oyama and ended up being a dreadful episode that made no sense. Death Dark is kidnapping children to see who is worthy of becoming a Death Dark scientist. They claim they will execute the failures. But when the time comes, they take the slowest amount of time to kill them as possible. This is really an episode that revolves around the plot convenience of the hero making it to save the week just in the nick of time, only because the villains made it so. God damn, it was so stupid. Add to the top some awful effects with rubber snakes. They are just holding the snakes up against their body. How about showing a little effort? I'll take it. This isn't the only time it happens either, as there are other James Bond-like moments.
Wait, aren't you even gonna watch them? They could get away.
No. I'm going to leave them alone and not actually witness them dying. I'm just gonna assume it all went to plan. What?
The movie. In case you didn't know, Gogoro 5 has a movie. It takes place during the early part of the show as Zoria pretends that she is on the run from her masters and needs the Rangers' help to stop Death Dark's newest plan to destroy Tokyo. The Rangers believe her,
of course,
and end up having to rescue a little girl because of their trust. They play whack-a-mole with the monster, while also having to fight through countless amounts of horribly cropped stock footage. Oh my god, they decapitated Gogol Pink. Oh. It's a pretty mediocre movie and adds nothing to the series at all. Except for the mech battles and the occasional episode here or there, I was entertained. However, there's nothing that makes the series stand out from others, and it does have the dullest cast I have seen thus far. While I may have sounded overly negative throughout the entire review, I am going to give Gogoro 5 a 3 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. This show feels like it belongs in the 70s rather than the 80s, and it kind of makes me afraid of what I'm going to watch for the shows prior to it. Are they going to be able to outdo Gogoro 5, or is Gogoro 5 going to be the pinnacle of what is essentially a 70s Sentai show? I'm kind of afraid.
Are you not entertained?
Were you even listening to anything I just said? Yes, I was entertained. I just wasn't wowed. if you're curious, go and watch the show. Check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. Just don't go in expecting to be blown away by anything. With that said, until next time, bye.
どうだよし12345 0